Through continuous self-reflection and introspection, INFJs tend to know their own behaviors, tendencies, and thought patterns pretty well compared to some other personality types. However, there are some certain things about their character and habits that most INFJs prefer to turn a blind eye to, and in some cases, would never admit to doing. Welcome back, psychos. Before we get into it, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the post notification bell so you never miss a video. Alright, let's get right into it, starting with number 1. Trying to fix another person. They say you can never love someone into loving you, and you can never change another person to be more of what you want them to be. And while INFJs know these philosophical pieces of advice to be the utmost truth, if there's one personality type that would put the blood, sweat, and tears into altering another person's outlook on life, it would be the INFJ themselves. Not only is this optimistic type able to see the good in everyone, they also believe that with the right empathy and encouragement, old wounds can be patched, ultimately resulting in different behaviors. Unfortunately, INFJs have the tendency to disregard the repetitive actions and intentions of others in hopes that they can nurse them back to health. They can't stand to turn their backs on someone who the INFJ believes needs their aid, despite being used as a doormat. In the end, no matter how many philosophical ideations, empathetic encouragements, pulls back to safety, and opportunities the INFJ throws at these types of people, they'll only change if they have the desire to, and that's a difficult pill for the INFJ to swallow. Number 2. Experiencing FOMO, or fear of missing out. Introverts at heart and extroverts when absolutely necessary, this personality type prefers to spend their spare time nestled in the comfort of their own homes. However, deep down inside, the INFJ homebody wishes they could experience the desire to socialize like their peers. They are adventurous at heart and hate to admit that their need for ample alone time may just hold them back in life when it comes to opportunities and connections. In fact, INFJs are those people that, despite never taking others up on their invitations, still want to be invited. Not only do they not want to feel more excluded than they already do in most scenarios, but they also want to be invited for the odd chance that they feel especially adventurous. In the end, when they choose not to attend a social gathering only to hear about it the next day, INFJs can become overwhelmed with the feeling that they missed out on something. Through their extroverted feeling function, they can sense the enjoyment through others that sometimes overrides the underlying disinterest they have towards most social affairs. Number 3. Feeling painfully lonely. Speaking of their innate requirement for alone time and self-contemplation, most INFJs would agree that to constantly be alone doesn't necessarily mean they're lonely. Yet, without a close companion, whether it be rooted in romance, friendship, or family, most INFJs experience gruesome periods of loneliness that aren't as easy to manage as they play it off to be. In fact, most people with this type pride themselves on having the ability to self-regulate without the need of other people's input or affection. They strive to be independent and free-spirited in their day-to-day life, often looking at the constant need for others' company as a sign of weakness. And yet, in their times of overwhelming stress, feeling misunderstood, and even in their times of joy and self-pride, deep down they wish they had someone to share their thoughts with. They wish they could share the ups and downs of life with a like-minded person. In reality, even if they have someone close to them who they consider trustworthy and genuine, it doesn't always take away from this core feeling of isolation. It takes a certain type of person and unfortunately years of spending time together for the INFJ to open up fully. Which brings us to our next point. Number 4. Wishing, praying, and fantasizing about finding that right person. With extroverted feeling and sensing at the forefront of their cognitive functions, the INFJ personality type is much more inclined to take the necessary steps to understand someone else fully than they are to open up about themselves. They carry themselves with an aura of open-mindedness, genuine curiosity, and an open ear that draws people towards them and compels them to spill all of their deepest, darkest thoughts. And while the INFJ truly wouldn't want to have it any other way, due to their innate curiosity towards the ways of the human mind, there's a piece of them that longs for someone to create a safe and patient space for them to divulge their own ponderings. In fact, despite being closed off and reserved on the outside, internally most INFJs are wishing, waiting, and hoping that that specific person comes along eventually. Someone who doesn't feel intimidated by the INFJ's self-containedness. Someone who gently but firmly pushes the INFJ to open up about themselves without the fear of misunderstandings or judgments. And ultimately, someone who quiets that part of the INFJ's self-pity that makes them believe they won't ever feel fully understood by another person in this lifetime. Number 5. Observe others while pretending they're not. Being the notorious observers they are, the INFJ personality type can't help but to watch others to gain the necessary or completely unnecessary insight they crave. With a mix of blank stares and peripheral vision, this hawk-eyed analytical type knows exactly what we mean when we say they are trying their best to observe without seeming like they're observing. In fact, over the years of subconscious analysis of their surroundings and all the strange looks that come with it, most INFJs form the ability to do exactly that. Stare without seeming like they're staring. Listen without seeming like they're listening. And even playing private investigator through social media without being traced. INFJs are a nosy bunch, and through their combination of extroverted sensing and introverted thinking, it's in their very nature to demonstrate their curiosities in this questionable manner. Luckily, they're rarely caught, and when they are, they have the preparedness to play it off cool. Number 6. Doubt people's intelligence. Empathetic and optimistic, most INFJs claim to have the belief that everyone has their own sense of intelligence in this life. Yet in reality, when getting to know others, they're often met with utter shock and amazement when someone's true intellect is proven. They tend to subconsciously believe that there couldn't possibly be others who evaluate life and self as deeply as they do. Whether it be rooted in ego or just an overall distrust in humanity's ability to think outside of what they're told to think. When the INFJ is met with someone of like-mindedness and brilliance, they are slightly taken aback with the internal realization that maybe they doubt others' thinking abilities more than they should. In fact, most INFJs don't make the time for new connections or dreaded small talk with the conclusion that they'll be caught in a surface-level, dumbed-down conversation, discussing everything about nothing, when in reality, they'd probably learn a thing or two if they just remained open to the idea that there really are clever people in the world. And lastly, number 7, being the source of toxicity. INFJs hold a unique mix of characteristics that can either help and hinder their connections with others. Besides their empathy, understanding, and need to help the ones they love, the INFJ displays behaviors that can be quite damaging to the people they form connections with. Notorious for their unforthcoming demeanor, unwavering independence, and obvious lack of interest in, INFJs can make the ones trying to get close to them feel completely shut down and unworthy. Regardless of how genuine and honest someone demonstrates their intentions towards the INFJ, this personality type can't help but to meet others with a sense of suspicion and doubt until proven otherwise. Unfortunately, when conflict arises and the other person is given the chance to demonstrate their genuine interest for the INFJ, they'll most likely be met with a silent treatment in which they have the challenge to patiently work around. Luckily, once connected with another person, proper communication serves to be the foundation of their relationships. However, This approach to proven love and affection is toxic in and of itself. But for the distrustful INFJ, sometimes it feels like the only way. Well, psychos, that's it for today. So, before you go, let us know in the comments below of something you'd hate to admit you do as an INFJ. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.